Hi, everybody. It's welcome to the week with Dr. RP. This week, I am going to prepare to tell you a little bit about what we have going on. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I need a theme song, don't you think? So we're going to go over what this week's about, talk about assignments due this week, and then we'll do some housekeeping and upcoming assignments for week 6. So this is week 5. And you have made it halfway through your first semester as a doctoral student. And I think right now you should be patting yourself on the back and being pretty excited about the hard work you've put in so far. The last few weeks are going to be a doozy. We have a lot of assignments due, but you can do this. Let's go ahead and talk about assignments that are due this week. I'd like you to complete an APA tutorial. It's a short tutorial on using APA format. It's just a refresher for most of you. And the tutorial is available by going through a link in the Canvas webpage under this week's to-do. Your annotated bibliography is also due this week. You can see the instructions in Canvas, and it needs to be uploaded to Canvas by Sunday, June 12th. Finally, you have your second partner chat of the summer. You're going to use the discussion prompts to start the conversation just like you did before. It should be no shorter than 30 minutes, but make sure you set yourselves a time limit. It should be no longer than 30 minutes. Make sure everyone has a chance to share and be a good listener. And each of you should email me a summary by Sunday at midnight. Don't need to copy your partner on the email, but you can. It's just an opportunity for me to kind of be involved in whatever discussion was happening in class. The prompts are just a place to start. You don't have to get through all the questions. You don't have to center yourself in the questions, but imagine that we were in class and those would be some of the questions I would ask you to talk about if we were having a group discussion. And so think of the ones that most interest the two of you, and those are the places I want you to talk about. We're going to come back now to what our overview is for this week. Got a little mixed up there. This week we're going to read chapter, I think it's chapter 6. Let's see. Oh, it might be chapter 9, the literature review chapter from our dissertation journey book. Now, what's exciting about this is you all have made, as you read chapter 9, reviewing the literature from the dissertation journey, you will find that you're already doing some of these activities you're going to need to do to make a literature review when you get to your dissertation. You're already learning about search queries and Boolean operators and thinking about how to organize your searches and what you're going to do with the literature that you discover. You're well on your way to having the information you need to write a good literature review. I don't want you to get ahead of yourselves. You're not writing your literature review yet. The best way to become a good writer of a literature review is actually just to read. So as you're reading this chapter about reviewing the literature, the thing I want you to take away the most is that the best way to become well-versed on the literature is to read the literature. And then to file it in such a way that you can find it when you need it to go back to write. You'll note as you read in chapter 9 that one of the things that our authors talk about is the importance of a good literature review in really helping you identify what exists in the canon of research that already is out there and what gaps exist. And so that's one of the reasons that I have my students really start with chapter 2. So they start with the literature review, and Dr. Maher students may start with chapter 1 and briefly and then go into chapter 2, but I like to have my students start with chapter 2 so they can really make sure that the literature, that they feel good about it, that they have a good solid sense of it, and it really helps them to refine their research questions. One of the things that you'll be reading about in chapter 9 is thinking about how to organize your writing, and that's actually great because that's what we'll be talking about next week, is how to organize yourself as a doctoral student. So that's the dissertation journey for this week. Now, this week we're really going to start to dig into the Elements of Style by Strunk and White. I cannot tell you how much I love this teeny tiny book. Hopefully you've had a chance to start reading last week when we read, or last week or the week before when we read a little bit of the beginning elementary rules of usage. You started to get kind of interested and excited. As you read the principles of composition, I think you'll really start to have some aha moments about the way that you write and the way that good authors that you enjoy reading write. I know that one of the things that I really like when I read from good authors, or when I read good writing from my colleagues and from my students, is when they use efficient words that say what they need to say without using a ton of extra words. So a good example is on page 21, number 16, where it says use definite, specific, concrete language. The authors say an example would be moving from the vague to the concrete. A period of unfavorable weather set in is the vague, versus it rained every day for a week. Using concrete language to tell the reader what you mean. A period of unfavorable weather set in just means a vague specified amount of time with some sort of weather that was unfavorable to some amount of people, and we don't even know what that unfavorable weather was. It rained every day for a week. It's specific that it was rainy. It's specific it was for a week. We get to decide as the reader if it was unfavorable, or maybe we really like rain. We can use, as the author, we can decide in the next sentence to say if that was unfavorable to the people involved. So that's just a good example to me. I have a lot of friends who I often say they use 10 words where 2 will do. As writers, especially when we get to literature review, we always want to think, how can I convey the most information in the fewest words possible, the clearest words possible for my reader? So that's going to be our learning for this week, and I think you'll really enjoy as you get to know Strunk and White a little bit better. So some of our housekeeping. Do this for us. We do have a synchronous meetup this week on Tuesday, July 7th at 7:30. I hope you'll be able to make it. Remember, they're optional, so if you have something else going on, or you're on vacation celebrating the tail end of the 4th of July, it's okay. I'll send out an announcement telling us what to be prepared for on Monday or Tuesday. Next week, on week 6, we'll be thinking about getting organized. You'll read chapter 6 in our text, and some more delicious Strunk and White, some of my very favorite, in section 4. And you'll be listening to a fun chat with myself and Dr. Maher. You'll turn in draft 2 of your research statement and round 3 of partner chats. That's all ahead in week 6. But for now, it's week 5, and I'm really looking forward to reading your annotated bibliographies and to checking in with you on July 7th. Have a great week.